one of the goals of these programs is to get veterans out there to build a business.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to the Green Beret Foundation specifically, you've got a large amount of transitioning leaders who have the ability and the relentless pursuit for success in their DNA. And anybody can be an entrepreneur. I truly believe that if you have that inside of you. The reason businesses fail predominantly is people quit. It's not because there's not a solution, not a path. It's that maybe it's linear thinking, like, okay, well, I can't do that, so I can't do it. Well, what if you do it like this? Like, oh, yeah, all right. But I think a lot of people fail because they get to that point and they're just like, oh, I'm done. I can't do this. And I've seen awesome businesses succeed with shitty leaders far less than I've seen awesome shitty ideas with great leaders succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why partnering with organizations that have those type of leaders coming out is important, because if you could give those leaders the resources from an education and capital perspective to go into their communities, they will start solving big challenges in our community, and the blast radius of this place will get much bigger.
Group of Green Berets who are getting out and then giving them some of the hard skills they need to be successful in the next phase of their life, and incorporation of bringing them out here for a week is only going to make that program better.
Yep. Yeah. And as we roll out a product called Patriot Pathway, which is what they're going to go through, that will be the entry point for anybody that is getting out of the military and is not sure what they're going to do. So that's the 5 days. That's the first 5 days of any of our programs. So if you're like, I definitely don't want to be a coach, I don't see any value in being a coach, which I think is probably short-sighted, but let's just say that somebody said that.
I'd agree.
I just want to get the transition. You could come to Patriot Pathway. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. And we'll roll that out sometime in the second quarter of 2025 after the Green Beret Foundation pilot. And, that program will be the kind of gatekeeper to who could be an entrepreneur. Because somebody getting out of the military, my personal huge goal right now is to catch up. One of my personal goals is to give veterans the opportunity to get out and catch up with their peers as fast as possible they went to high school with. Because the reality is, let's say you serve as a Green Beret for 10 years and you're getting out and you're starting your career. I don't care what the military tells you. You're starting backwards from everybody else. Now, you might have some extreme experience as a leader in military, command and structure and whatever, and that is transferable for sure. I fully believe that military veterans offer companies awesome leadership skills. But the reality is your network is small comparative to the other people that have been out for 10 years, were in the workforce. Your experience in those specific jobs is far less. And there is going to be a steep learning curve in addition to the transition itself. And what I'm most excited about is building entrepreneurship school here, where veterans who want to get out, who are getting out of the military, could identify like, hey, I want to study human performance. I want to open my own gym, and I want to use that gym as a catalyst in my community to create health and wellness for veterans and everybody else. I want that person to be able to get out of the military, go through 3 or 4 modules of education, and graduate our entrepreneurship school, and then get $100,000 of funding to open that business so they have no debt. And then they will pay back a royalty to the foundation, so that as we put more and more of those people out in the world opening these facilities, the inertia that started here in this simple concept of transition will just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And now what you've done is created a self-endowing system that built by veterans that can solve veteran challenges. And I think if we can get this built in the next 5 years, we can actually see a reduction in the thing we all hear a lot about, which is veteran suicide, which is absolutely terrible. But the veteran suicide, in my opinion, is caused more by a loss of purpose and meaning and transition in identity of who you think you are when you get out of the military than it is from PTSD or brain injuries or any of the things that we are treating as symptoms. I think the symptom is loss of the love of life and the purpose of your life.
there's a couple of areas here where I want to go into a little deeper. You talk about the gap when you get out.
Yeah.
The gap's real. I mean, when I got out of the Army, I went to NYU. I went to the executive MBA program there. And so by definition, who's in the class? It's people who have been in the workforce for somewhere between 10 and 15, some people in 25 years.
Yep.
And you're coming together and you have an opportunity to learn from these folks who've been in industry while you get your education. But unlike a traditional MBA program where you have younger folks who might be in it, all these people have experience. And what I continuously told myself was, I had this set of experiences, which may or may not translate, as you said, but I lacked some very hard skills.
That's unique that you actually had the perspective and the consciousness to say that, though.
I knew
Most don't.
I knew it. I knew it quickly, that I didn't know anybody outside of the people in the military.
Yep.
I had no network. I had no experiences, outside of the fact that when I graduated undergrad, I went to basic training and then spent a decade at war. And then now after 13 years, I'm out in New York City trying to figure out who I am and what I want to be, realizing that these people who are sitting with me, although great people, are no smarter. They're no less experienced. They have different experiences, but they know how to operate.
That's right.
In the real world.
Yep.
And I don't.
Yep.
And what I constantly told myself, because I would look at it, we had investment bankers who were like throwing cash around, and I'm like on the GI Bill, like, can I pay rent this month? And they're going to the club throwing down credit cards, right? And it's just like, man. And I start realizing, like, okay, well, they got 15 years on me.
Yep.
That's it. They got 15 years on me. So what's my goal? My goal was, can I get there in 10? If it took them 15 to get here, I had to accept that I don't get to be on parity after 13 years of the Army. But can I get there in 10?
That's such incredible clarity and perspective, and it's uncommon. And I wasn't in long enough to be indoctrinated the way that you were. Indoctrinated me, like how you felt.
Yeah.
I never felt that way.
When
I started building this, I was at the height of my rank at E4.
For the second or third.
I did 6 years, and at the height of my rank, I was at E4. That tells you something. I was the E4 Mafia Queen, and so I started building this. I was like, I got to get generals here. I got to because I was like, they're the smartest people in the world, and in certain areas they are, but in the same way that you recognize that you weren't knowledgeable and had experience in the right areas, I think often most special operations guys and general officers that get to that, whatever, 2-3 star level, whatever, and colonels, honestly, all of them, their egos are so wrapped up in their rank and what they accomplished within the military, they can't see that perspective. And by the way, most of them have MBAs. They got either an MBA while they were in service, or they got it right after. And so now you've got a highly educated, I'll say large ego, not because it's a bad thing, but because, listen, you were successful in the service, and it's something to be proud of. But if it becomes the defining factor of your civilian life, you're fucked, because it doesn't translate. Every single person I've ever met that translated out of a high impact military career into the civilian space has struggled, unless they found deep purpose in the new mission quickly. And even then, your ego and the identity of who you were in the military is always on your shoulder, and it's always like, no, you're fucking smarter than them. And the reality is, you might be smarter intellectually, but the experience that you lack compared to them will make you lose every time.
Well, the other thing you talked about is this idea of the pity that people have for veterans.
Yeah.
And this perspective that, they're veterans, so they're obviously crazy, and they're
broken
and they can't do anything. And that was another thing that I consciously told myself too, was as I looked around that classroom. And I'm glad, I mean, doing that program it did exactly what I needed it to do. And that was to jumpstart me into the civilian world and give me the exposure where I could look around and say, okay, well, this is my peer group,
Yeah.
in the world. And, I'm just as smart. I'm more physically fit despite, a stroke in my eye and 2 back injuries. But there's nothing to feel bad about here.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for me to have an issue, and have any limitations to what I can and can't do. And I think that the sooner you tell that to yourself as a veteran, and even if it takes other people showing and telling you that, that's got to be done.